Welcome back to the propagation trials and the microgreens. It's been 10 days since we started these, and what I'm doing is now go through the results of what worked, what didn't, what lessons we've learned from actually doing that. And then at the end, I'll explain what the next stage and the next trial is going to be all about. So looking at these along the way, we have in this little row, we have the results of the Super 7 heated propagator tray. This one is the self-watering propagator tray, and this is our indoor propagator with the actual lights. If you want to see details of the setups of all those, check the link up above to the previous video when I was talking about the setups and getting these all sewn up. So let's have a quick look at the results for some of these. So let's have a look at the heated ones. So this is the broccoli setup, so they're not too bad. This one here is the pak choy ones, the peas. This is just some salad crop ones, and this is the basil, which is a longer propagation time. So overall, looking at the heated propagator one, there's a little bit of sporadic germination, and I put that down to the fact that actually for the next trial I need to keep a tighter look on the actual watering, and as we'll see when I come on to the other heated propagator ones, didn't appreciate quite how often to actually keep checking on the water, and the heated propagators do dry out the soil quite a lot. So there were areas where it was drying out in the tray more than others, which is why we've got like this one here, it looks like we've got like a little bit of a gap going on there. But in terms of propagation, the peas are doing okay. They still need a little bit longer to get the pea shoots, but in terms of everything else, it's doing all right. They do stretch one way to the window during the day, and I turn the trays around so they stretch back later on. But in terms of height and growth, they're looking all right, and reasonably strong plants. Let's turn over to the self-watering propagator, which is unheated. It's just on the windowsill. Now these ones, they took about 2 days longer. So by about day 2, these ones were germinating, and we didn't really see any germination on these until day 4. But as you can see from these, because they were self-watering, pak choy is a little bit of a gap in the middle of it, but in terms of the peas and the salads, they've done really well in terms of even propagation. And to be fair, the self-watering propagator did exactly what it says on the tin. As long as you keep the reservoir filled up at the bottom, it's kept these nice and moist, and I haven't had to water the actual trays themselves at all. The one difference you will notice is on the basil, we've got one spindly basil plant in there, or it might not even be a basil plant. So obviously the basil needs a little higher temperature to actually germinate, so obviously that's not going to work. But the rest of these that have just propagated fine. I guess the windowsill is anywhere between 17, 18 degrees throughout the whole day, and during the day when it's sunny coming through, it'll be a bit warmer. And again, but in terms of height, if you compare these, there isn't much. Having germinated 2 days later, actually in the tray, you can see from here that actually there's not much difference in terms of growth on those at all. As I say, the basil's being the exception. So in terms of actual growth, heated or not heated, doesn't seem to make much difference when they're just on the windowsill. Let's have a look at the ones that are in the inside. So these ones are the ones that are on a heat mat. And again, you see from the broccoli one, we've got a few patches here where it's not germinated very well, and that's down to the heat where the soil was drying out, where it's more on top of the heat mat than others. Especially prevalent here, you can see on the peas where we've got lots of peas around this edge, and here where it was caught in a slightly hotter area, the compost has dried out, but it's actually starting to come through now. But in terms of growth, Let's compare these. You can see that the ones that are in there with the light, they've actually grown taller, which is more, but you will see that the actual development on them in terms of how much leaf they've got compared to these is a lot greater. And again, for the pak choi, you can see that those plants compared to these ones, these are a lot bigger and brighter, and it's especially on the peas, where these peas need a good few more days to go, whereas some of these pea shoots, especially these big ones, are ready for picking. And on the salad crops, you can see that there's quite obviously that extra light and that heat has really helped with them. But obviously it's not just down to how well they grow, it's how they look. And I would say comparing, look at the broccoli, the green on the ones that have had the light, the green is a lot more intense a green. And on these ones, they do look more, these look quite light green. There's not a darkness to them. And particularly some of this salad crops and stuff like that. So they certainly benefited from the extra light, but considering that we're getting, the sun at the moment is probably rising around 8 o'clock, setting about 4 o'clock. So what's that give us? About 8 hours of light. They've done okay. So one of the things that we've learned is watering is essential. So we're going to get some more capillary mat into the heated propagators to make sure that they get watered fine. But let's get some scissors and have a little bit of a taste, because obviously it's no good them growing if they don't taste any good. So I'm going to have a little snip of each one of these and give them a try. So that bit of soil off. So this is the heated propagator ones. Yeah, good taste in there, no bitterness, nice and light, real nice broccoli taste. Let's try these ones that haven't had the heat. If anything, they're slightly more mustardy. What we'll do is we'll try a little bit of pak choi as well, just to see if that makes any difference. That's quite good. Again, very comparable across the two. Not a lot of difference in taste. Let's try the these ones that have been in the heated propagator with the light. Yeah, they're not too bad. Try some of the pak choi. If anything, I would say that component 2, but actually the taste is stronger on these ones than it is on these particular ones here. They're a little bit bigger plants, and obviously they're getting taller and bigger, slightly more intense, but there's not a great deal in it. So as you can see, whether you're using a heated propagator on the windowsill, an unheated one, or lights, the lights are going to give you a quicker growth and a stronger growth. But certainly whether it's for normally on your windowsill in your home, you don't necessarily need the heated propagator to actually get these things going. Obviously, a heated propagator is useful if you're starting off other plants like chilies or tomatoes and stuff like that, which have a like higher germination temperature. But for standard microgreen crops, just an unheated is more than fine for actually doing that. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to harvest these and have these with our meals for the next couple of days. And then what we're going to do for the next level of testing is we are going to be looking at whether compost, coir or paper towels is the best medium for actually growing these, and what's the difference between actually getting the results that you get from each. And also for the coir, we're going to be doing 1 compost, 2 coirs and 1 paper towel. And for the second coir one, what we're going to be doing is following what is almost like the commercial grow method for that, where we're going to be putting them onto the coir. We're going to be putting a weight on top of them, weighing them down with some weight for 2 or 3 days. Then we're going to be blacking them out for 2 or 3 days and then letting them grow on to see the difference between coir, just where you chuck them in the top and let them grow, and going through all the processes of weighting down, blacking out and letting them grow on. So if you want to join me for that, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. When I come around to setting that up and doing that test, I'll let you know. But for the time being, I think we've learned a few lessons around watering and keeping these things watered and what works and what doesn't. And for the time being, I've got a lovely set of microgreens that I can enjoy with my food for the next week. So I'll join you again. So join me again soon. We'll be going through some more trials and also some updates from what we've been up to down the plot. See you again soon.